All right, you are live, and you may go.
So, where should we start?
I think we should start on how George and Lenny's American dream affected their lives. And some of the claims that I made were it basically taught George and Lenny how to work harder because they were trying to make money fast because they were expected to make enough money to buy the ranch for $600 by next month. And then it made them think differently about how to spend their time and them working.
I would agree, but I would also say that it also kept them pushing forward, even like with the hard times and like the times that the boss's son would pick on him, and like whenever Lenny would ask George to like say the story or the dream again, then it would kind of spark the fire back up, and it would just kind of bring the dream back into view.
I agree with Duke and Carter, but I also think that the American dream affected George and Lenny because it gave them a goal for the future.
All right, so
Even though I kind of agree with you three, but even though Lenny didn't get to get to where he wanted because he died, I think George could still like keep on going.
Wasn't it Candy the one that was going to move in with him anyways? Or-
yeah, Candy
Yeah,
said that he
Candy.
would have paid half the money to join in. But I would also like in the end of the book when George killed Lenny, it was probably because he knew that with Lenny there they would have never achieved the dream because Lenny was kind of holding him back and kept running him out of places and kept getting him in trouble. So he just did what he kind of had to do to have a better life, and he just also did it for Lenny's sake so he wouldn't have to deal with getting yelled at or getting hurt anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, there's a lot of opinions that are used on that, like whether if George should have really killed Lenny or if Lenny should have lived, but no one really knows the exact reason why they did that. If he was just because he would kill mice or kill the dog, which he did in it was somewhere in the book, and then when he killed Curly's wife. So
So in a way, it's good but bad.
yeah, there's a lot of different things that could have happened.
He would have gotten killed either way.
I
George
think,
took him out easier.
I think the main reason why George killed Lenny was because he didn't want
Watch him
any
suffer.
that, and he didn't want Lenny to keep killing living creatures.
Don, can you add on to that? You didn't write anything down?
I wrote stuff down for trying to get
Well,
covered.
what'd you say?
You guys already said it.
Okay, so
Hitchhike on
Like
that?
what's your opinion on what we're talking about within the story?
all right, so should we move on to the next point?
Suppose we could. The next one is analyze or evaluate George's treatment of Lenny. I think it was on and off when there were just at some points when George would treat Lenny bad if he did something bad, and then where he was good to Lenny. But every time that he yelled at Lenny, he kind of thought to himself at the end to like forgive Lenny for doing that, so that Lenny didn't feel like he was the one. I guess being the bad person.
Yeah, I would agree, but I would also add on that even though like sometimes Lenny wouldn't be doing anything wrong, and George would just yell at him because he would kind of get sick of Lenny being around all the time and wouldn't leave him alone. He doesn't have that much time to himself, but it's also like Lenny would he'd also get mad at Lenny because Lenny would ask him questions and then George would tell him to do something or trying to remember something and he'd forget and he'd get really mad and yell at him again, but also after he was done yelling at him, he'd apologize because he didn't want to hurt Lenny's feelings too much.
Anybody got anything to add on that?
Well, like on pages 50 to 57, it shows how Lenny, like how they were walking down from the bus station to the farm, and they stayed the night over by the bushes. It shows how Lenny was actually thinking how George could be more free if he would leave his side.
Yeah, that's also I think that's probably the reason why he kept saying that he could leave.
Yeah.
And he would leave so George could have a better life.
At the end, he said that too. So.
And he said he could go up to the caves.
But George didn't want him to leave because also, it was kind of company for him, even though he wasn't that smart and that talkative. It just kind of kept him someone to talk to, because he didn't. Also, if Lenny would have left, then Lenny probably would have died within a week because he probably wouldn't have been able to find any food or water.
Well, and he doesn't really, with his mental ability, he really didn't know how to act around people or how to get food or any of that. So he would have ended up dead within weeks or so.
Yeah.
If he didn't stay with George.
Cor, do you have anything to say?
Anything to add?
Not really.
All right.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next point then.
Okay. And analyze the different instances and references of mercy killings in the story.
I would say that one of them would be when Candy said that he should have killed his own dog instead of having a stranger do it, because it was just kind of, the dog was hurting, so he should have killed it out of respect for the dog.
Slim drowns I think Slim drowns the 4 pups because the bigger pups have a bit greater chance of living. So.
Yeah, they were probably the runts, and he probably already knew that they weren't going to make it that far, so
Yeah.
he didn't want them to
And
have some disabilities.
Yeah.
So he just kind of put them down so when they wouldn't have to suffer.
they wouldn't have enough food, from their mom.
I kind of agree with you guys in a way, but I kind of disagree, because even though the puppies were going to suffer and they were going to need food, they could have just found a different
A
way
different home.
to sell them or just donate them even.
That's a good point too, but I agree with that, and it's just kind of in situations like that, it's kind of hard to choose, and he just chose what he thought was best. But that's what I think. Colton, do you have anything to think or say about it?
Mm-mm.
Are you, Dalton?
Yeah.
All right.
And then when Lenny was killing the mice and then he killed that pup, that was just because he was petting them too hard and he didn't know any better to do that. So that's why that happened.
I'd say that kind of when the dog was playing with him and it bit him, he probably thought it was actually trying to hurt him, so he kind of tapped it on the head and hit it actually too hard.
Yeah.
I feel like Les should be giving a chance for that. So, for Lenny, do you guys think Lenny killing Carly's wife would be a mercy killing, or would that be an accident?
I think that could go either way.
Yeah.
It just depends on the type of person that was thinking of that. In Curly's position, he just wanted to kill Lenny for killing his wife, but
That'd be anyone's.
George and some of the other guys were thinking that he did it on accident because he didn't know any better. So it really just depended on what the person thought about that killing.
So maybe you need to clarify the definition of mercy killing. They're all of them that you talked about are killings. Are they all mercy killings that you talked about? Is that what you're?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of, because Lenny's has right when they got there, they knew something was wrong with Lenny, something mentally.
Because he didn't talk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but he was just following George's
yeah,
Orders.
orders.
just following along with George, and George would listening to George and actually doing what George said.
Okay, but back to your question, you said was was Lenny killing Curly's wife just an accident, or was it a mercy killing?
It was an accident.
Yeah.
Because
Because mercy
If
killing, the
God
definition
scared
of that is
is on accident.
Not,
Or no, purpose,
not
purpose,
an
purpose.
accident.
Yeah, but
It's-
it's for a good
It's like
cause.
someone has to have a motive to
But it's
do
for a
it.
good cause.
Yeah.
to prevent suffering.
Should we move on to the next point? The final and last point?
Yeah.
And I think
How friendship affect the characters in the story. It affected George and Lenny a lot because I don't think if George really liked Lenny that much that Lenny would end up dead because he couldn't fend for himself. Like going back to the point where we would analyze the treatment. So it just depended on what George's thoughts on Lenny were.
My idea is similar to yours, but it's with Slim and George, because George told Slim about what happened in Weed, and he trusted him, so they became friends. Because Slim could have told Boss, and
Got in trouble.
yeah,
Yeah, I would agree, but I would agree with both of you. And Duke, all out onto yours that with George and Lenny, I'm pretty sure if George didn't like Lenny, he probably would have killed him sooner, because I'm pretty sure if he didn't want Lenny to stay around after the tumbleweed incident, then he probably would have killed him right after that, because he knew that he probably would have known from right then that he wasn't going to get anywhere with Lenny being around, because he just caused too much trouble and didn't know what he was doing.
I see
Curly?
what you mean there.
Curly's wife didn't have any friends because she was the only girl, and if Curly saw her talking to the other guys, he would have gotten mad.
just
She
jealousy.
didn't have anyone to talk to. Yeah.
And
Also,
Okay.
Curly,
What was your point?
Curly, trying to like help Lenny and George with the farm and money.
yeah,
That kind of goes with this.
but at the ending of the book, when George kills Lenny, it was just kind of, I would say, just kind of a mercy killing, because he really didn't want Lenny to stay around. So because the longer he stayed around, it was kind of like the more trouble he got
He
into.
would have suffered because they were planning on to make him suffer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he just wanted to make it quick, so his friend wouldn't have to listen or to watch his friend suffer. So he just kind of took him to a better place.
You guys did a fabulous job of using your discussion skills. Absolutely fabulous. Evaluate, outer circle, evaluate. I already kind of gave an overall of my opinion, but what did you see happening here that was so much better than last discussion?
They actually talked.
Yeah,
Not everybody.
A lot more discussing, that's for sure.
okay. And through what?
Perfect.
How did that happen?
Cora didn't say
Connected
one
with each other,
word.
yeah. What's
I
that?
did say
Oh, sure she did.
She said more than
Yeah,
me. The one.
And use those connection
Sorry,
terms.
not
Yeah, that was fabulous. Okay, outer circle, could you hear the inner circle all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I thought that the volume was good too.
Rebecca.
Okay, yeah, Rebecca's a little softer, plus she's absolutely, behind you, so, or you're behind her. Okay, great. The outer circle come in, inner circle go out.
So we can log out of this, right?
You log out of that, inner circle, get your computer up and running. We'll have another 12-minute discussion. Great job, guys.
No.
Get your computers.
Get out of the restroom. Can I sit here?
Please.
I have to go.
Uh,
Yeah, I'll
Get your computer.
I got my computer.
Oh my.
Good luck, guys. Good luck, inner circle. Help the best. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, he didn't say Christ though.
Same difference.
You say Jesus.
Okay, if you're on the outside, you get on today's lesson plan. Lesson plan and click on, Colton, discussion, Dawn, content, discussion.
Somebody's phone's on the ground.
Under my eye? Yeah.
The discussion commentators are focusing and commenting. What are they challenging? Question, are they responding to a question? Are they, what I said, responding? Are they summarizing? Are they agreeing, disagreeing? Content commentators, let's see, Carter, I'd like you to be a discussion commentator.
Again?
Well, no,
Oh.
commentator, yeah.
What?
And the content, paraphrasing the ideas, the content that's being contributed.
Oh.
Remember, put your names,
Discussions.
not
Not nicknames.
nicknames, I want your name.
Discussions.
You guys better talk.
I'll talk a lot.
I'm not starting.
Discussions.
I don't know how to start it.
You didn't even talk last time.
So?
You didn't say, well, you said
Your
something
discussion.
like two.
Discussion.
Rebecca, your content.
Yeah, I remember what I said,
For us,
Carter.
discussion.
Oh, that was this last time.
I was on to
Okay, and be productive and respectful on the outside circle as well, because you're part of our discussion. What one did you tell Carter?
Can they read everything we put?
It
My
just
mom don't have the
yeah.
internet.
What?
It says.
everything, even from the last class.
Same here.
I used my nickname.
Tried.
I used Diesel, dude. Diesel.
Computer is out.
I thought it was diesel.
That wasn't junk.
All right, are we ready?
No,
I said a lot of other stuff.
but.
I don't know why I'm doing
Harley's doing me crazy.
I'll know in a second.
Just go back out. No, go back in. Yeah. All right. Good join. Good discussion skills. See if you can do even better than others.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the first one. How did George and Lenny's American dream affect their lives?
They saved their money, they didn't go spend it.
And they had a goal to live on a ranch.
They mostly wanted to keep it a secret, but that didn't really work out as well.
I think
Lenny's
if it wasn't for the
$5.
American dream, they wouldn't have went to that new ranch unless they had to. And George probably wouldn't be with Lenny right now. He probably would have left him because I don't think he ever liked Lenny throughout the book.
I kind of agree because, well, Lenny kind of got George in trouble and stressed out and stuff. And they got George tried to keep Lenny out of trouble, but he just was too retarded to do that. But
Well, he's one of those like special people.
yeah,
Yeah, and if
Mentally handicapped or intellectually challenged.
George would have told the boss that what Lenny really does, like he's one of those special kind of people, it probably wouldn't have been hired. None of that would have happened. Like no deaths, no nothing.
well,
If it wasn't for the American dream, they wouldn't have been as interested in Candy as much. Because
Yeah,
Candy
but-
was going to help them out a lot with their ranch. or
Yeah, I
their
didn't say.
little
I think
house.
Crook said that he might have joined, but then he like butted out and didn't want to. Not anymore.
well, that they got to know them a little more, and well, they probably got to know Lenny, and there's like, if he screws up, I don't want to be any part of it.
And he
Do you have
screwed up
anything
a
to say
lot.
about this,
Oh, yeah.
Dacia?
Yeah, come on, Dacia.
How
I
are you,
already said
Sky?
I had.
Come on. How about you, Skyen?
Already said what I had.
All right, moving on. Analyze or evaluate George's treatment of Lenny.
George's treatment was kind of like an off-on switch. He would yell at him 1 minute and then nice to him the next, scream, nice kind of thing.
I think George should be beaten with a shoe for the way he treats Lenny.
I think George bullied him a lot. He
Just because of how he acted.
treated him kind of like a slave.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Why?
No. I have that he treated him with like respect and stuck up for him. Like through everything that he needed to.
Well, he didn't
I
treat
doubt
him with
that.
respect very
Yeah,
much.
he did.
Like when he said, "I want ketchup on my beans," he screamed his butt off at him.
So that was just
The only thing
He
he
was
helped him in
just
was really that fight against
Yeah.
the boss's son.
And he smacked him across the face.
Yeah, that was actually kind of cool how Lenny crushed his hand with his fist. That was fun.
I don't think George ever liked Lenny throughout the book. He just felt sorry for him. That's why he stayed with him.
And
Yeah, because he wouldn't be able to survive without him.
that, and he needed a lot of help, and he needed somebody to keep him out of trouble because he didn't know right from wrong.
Because I think George said that without Lenny, everything would be much easier and go a lot smoother, and he would still
he
be
did say
having
that.
a lot more money, a good paying job, and a good house.
The only person we heard, I think, in the whole book through with Lenny's relatives was his aunt,
Yeah,
because she was the one that gave him all those mice.
I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, but he kept on killing them, so she
Then
quit.
why she keeps sending them one?
No,
after another?
she stopped. She
Yeah,
stopped sending them.
eventually, probably after the 1,000th mouse.
If George didn't like Lenny, why did he continue going through all of that though?
Because he told
Pretty
his Aunt
much
Claire
since-
he'd look after him.
Yeah,
Maybe George would get lonely and just wanted
Because he
somebody.
didn't want to
And
leave
his-
Lenny by
his-
himself.
They need a
Lenny's
bodyguard.
aunt or whatever. George promised that whatever.
Lenny could barely live with George. He couldn't
Yeah.
live on his own.
That and well, George kind of needed a bodyguard. Basically, that's kind of what
Technically, not really.
Lenny was kind of.
He had to take care of Lenny because Lenny didn't really know what he was doing or
Look, you
where to go, what to do, what to eat.
gotta
He'd
admit,
probably eat the dead mouse if all he cares.
you gotta admit, when it came to a fight, Lenny was pretty. He was pretty smart about
Yeah,
it.
because didn't George tell Lenny that whenever Curly came up in his face to take care of him?
Yeah, don't let him do that stuff to you and sock him in the face.
Yeah, not crush his hand.
Well, hey, I'd rather get my hand crushed than be socked in the face.
True. Hey, this
You guys got anything about the Mercy killing in the story?
I have that Slim drowned the 4 pups because the mom couldn't feed, and Carlson shot Candy's dog, and then George shot Lenny.
I think the reason George shot Lenny is because he was just getting really sick and tired of him.
And everybody, George wanted to kill Lenny because he didn't want Curly shooting him in the stomach with the shotgun to make him die slow and painfully.
Nobody wants to die in suffering. They just want to
Well,
be done and over
if it
with.
wasn't for
all of it
the
was wrong.
American Dream, George or Lenny would have been killed a long time ago.
Yeah. If it wasn't for
The Mercy
Curly's
killings. I
wife.
think they killed the old dog. Like every other time anything else died was really on accident, but they killed Candy's dog on purpose because he wasn't much of a guard dog anymore.
And, well, he
Slow,
was
old, and smelly.
kind of like Lenny and Candy.
In what way?
Well, Candy, he's just a old fart. It's like he
Didn't he
doesn't.
have like no right hand?
Oh, it was busted.
Yeah, so he had to walk slowly because that dog is freaking slow. It is still a guard dog, so I can see why they killed him.
Because when you don't want to see an animal suffer, you want to put it out of its misery. You're doing it a favor. So you just shoot it between the eyes.
How did that little pup die again? I forgot.
He was shot?
No, not Candy's dog. That little pup.
Oh, Lenny, killed it.
Wasn't he holding him too much?
Didn't he like snap his neck or?
No, that
No,
was Curly's
holding
wife.
it too much.
Oh, because it was too young.
What do you two think about the Mercy killings?
I have that Slim John the 4 pups because the mom couldn't feed,
Anyway,
which
Yeah, but why did he do that?
I was just gonna say that, Jaden.
come on, you can
Um,
talk. Don't be shy.
If he wouldn't have drowned them anyway, they would have died because they wouldn't have had any way to eat. Or yeah, and then
Pretty much.
I don't think that George should have shot Lenny because, well, I kind of think at the same time he should have because he had it coming his way anyway because of all the stuff he's done. But
Killing a human being, animal, well, pretty much. Me. What about you, Sky? What do you think about Mercy killings?
Like, I agree with Deja. Like, either way, the pups would have died. And, like, I think George should have shot Lenny, but then again, I don't. Because, like, I don't know. I don't know.
But wouldn't they have, the 4 pups, wouldn't they just kill them quick and clean, not drown them to death so they'd suffer? Yeah, but they kind of suffer because you'd be losing air and it's like, I can't breathe.
Be one of the worst ways to go out.
Well, actually, one of the
Well-
worst ways would be to go out is being set on fire. But if you're going straight down to the devil, it kind of makes sense. You're going to burn anyway.
Not really.
All right. How did friendship affect the characters in the story?
Lenny would have gotten as far as he was with George. If those two
Lenny didn't get that far anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lenny.
and farther than he would
Oh.
have without.
He wouldn't have gotten very far if he didn't even.
Know who George was.
They rarely did anything at the ranch.
Like if George didn't meet Lenny or didn't want anything to do and just left Lenny alone, he would have probably been killed or hung
That or
by those people at Weed for touching a girl's dress. So he would have died like right at the beginning of the story probably, or put in jail.
if it wasn't for George, Lenny would have been already dead. But George just came to his senses and said, "Really, I can't take it." So he just shot him in the back of the head.
George was also able to use friendship to vent to Slim. Or they went through friendship too.
If George wasn't Lenny's friend at the time, Lenny probably would have lost the fight against the boss's son.
Yeah, because George pretty much tells Lenny to do everything.
Yeah, Lenny
Tells
listens
him
to
to work,
George.
he'll work. Tell him to like get some sticks for a fire, he'll get sticks for a fire.
Yeah,
Tell him to beat somebody up, he'll beat somebody up.
Oh, and
But Lenny typically wants a legit reason why George wants him to do all that. So
why didn't George tell Lenny not to get into a fight with the?
no, he told him to because he said.
No, he told him not to at the beginning.
Yeah.
Didn't he tell him to? Because
He
when
said-
Curly got up in his face.
He
told
said
him
if
to stop him.
Curly walks into the house, you go to the other side, so you don't start anything with him. But then when Curly told him to stand up and fight after he got hit like 5 times, George told him,
knock him out.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then
Slap him
He
in the
did.
face.
yeah.
He
Well,
did.
he didn't.
Well, he
he
didn't.
didn't knock him out. He grabbed his.
he grabbed his hand and
Yeah, Curly was gonna hit
did
him.
something to it.
Curly.
Snapped all his fingers.
Yeah, Curly was gonna punch him, and George just caught him, crushed his hand.
MMA fighter
Then
on
the
blood.
next thing he knew, George says, "Don't do that," even though he just told him to do it.
Yep. Yeah, it's because he wouldn't let go. He was Well, he looked mad and frightened at the same time because he didn't didn't you? Everybody said when
I wouldn't let go.
one of those the specials when they get scared, they just stop, they freeze, they don't do anything. So when he had his hand tight on Curly's hand, he froze. He wasn't able to let go until he got the sense smacked into him. So
Oh, George kind of.
smacked it. So,
Yeah.
like I said.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Lenny didn't hit George the whole time, the way George treated him.
Well, because George liked
Lenny listened to
Lenny
George.
liked George. And pretty much I'm thinking that George was pretty much a father to Lenny since he took care of him and
Made sure he was clean.
stayed out of trouble.
Well,
Sometimes.
Kind of. All boys will be boys, I guess.
You guys think you aren't talking much?
Which, yeah, he kind of. I don't know. He wouldn't have been able to do.
Half the things he did with George.
Probably
Yeah,
none of the
without
things he did with George. He picked up the dead mice, he'd probably be able to keep it. If he wanted to go live in the mountains, he'd probably go and live in the mountains. But he'd probably die up there because there's nothing to eat
True.
except for a bottle of ketchup.
Oh,
He said he wouldn't.
I think the only thing Lenny listened to George on, and actually remember just going up in the mountains if they ever got in trouble. Lenny did remember to get there and did what he was told.
Final thoughts on the story?
My overall thing is I don't think George.
I thought it was a pretty good story.
I didn't think George liked Lenny at all. He just felt sorry for him, so he stayed with him. And if it wasn't for the American dream, George would have killed Lenny within.
anything, a shotgun,
yeah.
I just
throw him
got
off a
asked-
cliff, leave him in the mountains,
I just got
leave him in weed to get hung. Probably laugh at his dead
Which
body.
one's better to you guys, the hero book or this one?
This one.
This one.
This one.
This one, or no, I like Hero better.
I understood this.
Hero
one.
didn't have much action.
Well, they kind of
This
have a
one.
connection.
Yeah.
Somebody in the book got shot.
Well, it had a little bit more action than Hero did.
Well, not really because.
All right, well, I'm glad you like film. All right, so, what was the difference between this round and the first round?
We were more.
You were more focused?
Not in them.
Hey, shut your computer. You need to
I
fill
was
out your
going
statements.
at it.
Okay, yes.
Those two didn't talk. I didn't really see this group using their sheets very much.
Okay, using
I didn't
their
know.
unnecessary preparation.
Yeah.
Okay, and what did they not use quite as much as the first group, in addition to their preparation sheets?
Dalton, you're so bad.
Why? What did I put?
It was either Dalton or Colton that I mentioned, that this group wasn't using what as much?
The sheets.
Well, there's the preparation sheets for the evidence, but something else. Connectors.
Connectors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with, I disagree.
Sounds like an argument.
Those types of statements.
Like,
All right, you're so slow. Sit down, you still have stuff to do.
I thought you had